Tonight on Alaska's News Source, celebrating mothers at the Alaska Zoo while teaching about being bear aware, ways to stay safe, and a glimpse at the zoo's adorable bears ahead.
And the weekend comes to a close with overcast skies as a break in the clouds is expected to start your week.
And check out this rendering. An engineer creates a video game of Alaska's Tracy on landslide and the megatsunami it created. And says you can ride a jet ski through the simulation in the name of safety.
You're watching Alaska's News Source.
The Alaska Zoo showed appreciation today for both mothers and Alaskan wildlife. Charlie Fellows tells us about what he learned about ways to stay bear aware this summer.
Your mom deserves a lot this Mother's Day. One thing she doesn't deserve is getting mauled by an Alaskan grizzly. That's why the Alaska Zoo is holding its yearly Bear Aware Day to give you and Mom some appreciation and respect for Alaska's fuzziest apex predator.
A bear.
The yearly event offering all mothers free admission and everyone a chance to see some bears in action.
We're providing the black bears some coolers and trash cans and things just to see how long it might take them to get in. And of course, it's always fun to watch. And kind of the big event is at 3 o'clock where we give our brown bears the bear-resistant cans that we have in our muni. It's always amazing to see because these brown bears just toss those cans like they weigh nothing.
Some containers held up, others quickly succumbing. All this in the name of increasing bear awareness.
I think this is one of our most important events here at the zoo. Again, living in Anchorage, it's really important to be bear aware. We've got a lot of black and brown bears in and around the area. So this is just an event to kind of celebrate our bears, but really we're trying to remember on how to be bear aware, while you're out hiking or biking.
Advice from the zoo's education director includes never running or biking with headphones, especially early in the morning, remembering to put bird seed and garbage away, and keeping in mind that even in town, bears are around. So if you're taking Mom on that hiking trip this year, just remember to stay bear aware. Charlie Fellows, Alaska's News Source.
Mother's Day is often associated with greenery and flowers, but that's not quite the case in Anchorage or the Southeast. Bailey, where's the spring weather?
That is a great question, Michaela. We're unfortunately not really expecting any real spring-like conditions throughout the week in areas like Anchorage. But if you're in the interior, it's finally starting to feel like spring. As we look across the state right now, as we all know right now, into South Central, lots of that rain is underway, and this is the same for Southeast. Expect more of this rain to track throughout the rest of your day and into the overnight hours, and even into carrying into Monday morning before we will dry off by the afternoon. But into the interior, we're feeling temperatures a little bit closer to 60 degrees throughout this week with partly sunny skies expected. Now, as we look at our weather headlines, we are still focusing on our river breakup conditions, especially for areas now into the interior as well as into western Alaska. We also have our first red flag warning of the year for parts of the interior, such as Delta Junction. This is all due to these warmer temperatures, dry conditions, and also these winds. Winds are going to be a factor for parts of the interior as well as in parts of Southeast, mostly for areas closer to Yakutat. But as we look at our satellite and radar, areas like Delta Junction really going to feel more of those winds picking up for Monday, and that's going to track throughout the rest of your Monday and into the afternoon. You can also see those 4 big green patches. These are also going to be these flood watches issued for more ice jam potential. These will expire by Monday evening, so keep this on your mind if you live in these areas. As we track our precipitation and these storms rolling through, that rain and even a little bit of that snow in higher elevations is going to continue into Monday morning for South Central. Kind of quieting down just a little bit more and drying off for Anchorage into the afternoon. But then we will see a return in more of that wet weather into the overnight hours and even into Tuesday throughout the Alaska Peninsula, into areas like Dillingham, South Central, and eventually reaching into Yakutat. So wind gusts today reaching up to about 44 miles per hour in Yakutat and 30 miles per hour into Palmer and Juneau. You can expect very similar conditions to continue into your Monday, starting off the work week with some windier and breezier conditions, but those high temperatures reaching just a little bit closer to that 50-degree mark across Southeast, climbing into the mid-50s and even closer to the 60s across the interior, and still just a little below normal into areas like Anchorage.
Thanks, Bailey. An engineering professor outside of Alaska has created a simulation and video game that can help people understand the scale of August 2025's Tracy Arm landslide and tsunami in southeast Alaska in real time. A new research article says the massive landslide created an approximately 328-foot tsunami wave that pushed the water about 1,600 feet up the fjord wall. Part of the simulation and video game allows the person playing to try to outride the tsunami on a jet ski.
The particularly compelling part of that is the jet ski can only go 70 miles an hour, which for a jet ski is quite fast. But the wave is so big and it moves so quickly that even though the jet ski is moving at 70 miles an hour, the wave is moving at close to 100 and it overtakes the jet ski. There's no way to escape the wave if you're on the water.
Patrick Lynette, the USC civil engineering professor who created the simulation, says when it comes to natural disasters, training people how to react is important. One way to do that is through this digital work. He visited Tracy Arm about 2 months after the landslide and tsunami and says using the types of graphics they usually do would not be sufficient to convey the size of the Tracy Arm event.
It is still very hard for me to believe how high the landslide was. So the top of the landslide was 3,000 plus feet above the water. The wave itself went 1,500 feet up the mountainside. I saw these things and it's hard for me to believe that it happened. So for me, that is the most incredible aspect of this, the level of energy that was imparted onto the water.
He says he hopes the video game experiences and the animation help people feel the size of the tsunami. The game is not yet available to the public, but he says he's working on making it available on Steam for free. In Fairbanks this week, a group of medical providers offered free prostate cancer screenings. In case you missed it, the Beer for My Boys event at Lat 65 Brewing gave men over 40 a free blood test in exchange for a beer. Organizers wanted to reach men who are often hesitant to stay on top of their health. The Vice President of Community Engagement and Philanthropy with Aurora Integrated Oncology Foundation says 1 in 8 men will get prostate cancer. And a urologist at Fairbanks Urology says the odds go up as men hit their 40s.
If we looked at every 80-year-old man's prostate and carefully looked through it, I'd see prostate cancer cells in most of those men, even more than 1 in 8. But in younger men and middle-aged men, and as we start to get older, that prevalence goes up. And so we want to make sure that we identify it and then determine each individual's personal risk and whether or not it needs to be treated, and if so, how.
He says prostate cancer remains among the more common causes of cancer-related death in men. 99 men in Fairbanks were screened at the event.